This is Maharajas of Scale, a podcast where we go behind the scenes and talk to founders who are demolishing the myths around building and scaling a big business in India. These are the stories that have shattered the assumptions around Indian consumers and are changing the game completely. I am Krishna Jonakadla, serial entrepreneur, co-founder of Flit, the fashion locator in town, and startup mentor, bringing you these stories. Hey listeners, before you listen to this episode, I wanted to share a few updates with you, and they're all exciting. The first update is that we have a new producer. Tanya Jadhav joins us as executive producer. Tanya brings a wealth of experience, and she's organized one of the startup industry's most successful events, the Elevate, which is sponsored by the government of Karnataka in Bangalore. Tanya brings more than a decade of experience in production, and she's trying her hand at building something online for the first time, but she's not new to entrepreneurs. We welcome Tanya. Nida, who was our previous producer and has helped us with our initial start until now, is going to move on to a different role and be leading a column called the Growth Column. The next update is that before you listen to this episode, a word of caution. PC Musthafa, who we interviewed, was in a remote village in Wayanad in Kerala. So while his track has come out great, there may be 2 or 3 spots where it is a little weak, but the point has not been lost. So we request you to bear with us. Can I request you to leave a review? Please leave a review wherever you listen to our podcast, whether it is iTunes or Spotify or CastPod. It helps us when we get excitement from you as to how you liked it. You can also send us suggestions about speakers that you might want to hear from, or some questions that have been bugging you, and then we could ask a future entrepreneur. You can also email us at heydhere@maharajasofscale.com, which is HEYDHERE @maharajasofscale.com, or you can email me, Krishna, @maharajasofscale.com, or Tanya @maharajasofscale.com. If you haven't discovered the transcript feature, we actually publish transcripts. We have been publishing transcripts for all of our episodes. You'll see a button called download transcript, which I find it very useful. I do that. I look for a transcript for any and every podcast that I listen to. And lastly, if you haven't visited our website, come visit the episode page on our website. We have a wealth of information. In fact, starting with the last 2 episodes, we have a lot of bonus things as well, a new angle that we discuss. There are a lot more updates coming. There are a lot more additions that are coming, and we can't wait to share those with you all out there. As always, thank you for listening. And if you have any suggestions, any comments, send it to us at heydhere@maharajasofscale.com. Or if you want to reach Tanya personally, Tanya is available at TANIA@maharajasofscale.com. That's Tanya. Or me, Krishna, @maharajasofscale.com. So talk to you all. Okay, here we are. Hey everyone, this is Krishna from Maharajas of Scale. Today we have PC with us. Before I reveal what PC's full name is and who he is, imagine yourself, you're stuck in a new city, like let's say Hyderabad or Chennai, or maybe in some other part of India, and you're struggling to get your favorite daily breakfast. It used to happen to me a long time, for as long as I was in the United States. But PC came as a knight in shining armor with a product. I'm talking about PC Musthafa of ID Fresh Foods, who has done a terrific job bringing amazing products to us. He is our speaker for today. PC, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Krishna.
Awesome. Any opening comments from you, PC?
Thank you for this wonderful opportunity. In the name of God, peace be unto you.
Awesome. So, PC, what you've done to the Indian breakfast industry is path-breaking. Our all-time favorites, at least for the South Indians, and maybe the Keralites as well, Malabar Parota and Vada, and then filter coffee, and then dosa, Idli batter. You've done a tremendous job with it. How does it feel to be able to fulfill the breakfast needs of so many people? It's basic. I'm making it feel like you're fulfilling somebody's dream, but when you get your food, that's where you get your energy. How does it feel?
So, Krishna, it's not by chance, it's by choice. If you look at our background, we had a very tough childhood. Me and my cousins went through a very tough time during our childhood days. During childhood days, we had a dream, and the dream was to eat breakfast every day. And I'm lucky to be part of a team today feeding world's best food, Idli, to million Indians every single day. It is not by chance, it's by choice.
Interesting. Dream to have breakfast every day. That must have been some really tough beginnings. I'm sure you shared that childhood story of yours a few times, but let's dig deeper. I have a couple of questions of a different kind. So how was that childhood like? What was it growing up? Before we hit the record button, you told us you are out there in Wayanad, and did you grow up in Wayanad?
Yes, I was born and brought up in Wayanad, in a very remote village in Wayanad. My village was so remote during those days that we had no electricity in my village, we had no roads in my village. I had to walk miles to my school.
How is the scene now?
Situation has improved these days. We have roads. We have still don't have a school, good school in village yet. We still have a LP school, a lower primary school today. But then situation has improved a lot. We have roads and electricity these days.
So you've gone a little bit of an up and down with your own educational career, right? So initially you were helping your father out, and then a teacher took interest in your education. Talk about that a little bit.
So during those days, education was not given importance. As I mentioned earlier, 3-time meal was a distant dream and breakfast was a luxury. And we struggled to eat a 3-time meal during those days. My dad was doing a daily wage worker in a farm. As he was finding it difficult to meet both sides of the family, I ended up doing daily wage work with him at the age of 10 during my summer holidays and weekends. And sometimes I used to bunk school and work with him to support at the age of 10. Education was not given importance, and I was very poor in my studies. I failed in class 6 and I stopped going to school for a while. I then started going to the farm with my dad, doing a daily wage work along with him. That's when one of my teacher, Matthew sir, came down to the farm. Matthew sir was teaching me maths, and I was reasonably good in maths during my early school days. Matthew sir tried to take me back to school, and I didn't want to go back to school. Even my dad tried. I said no, I'm not going back to school. But then he asked me one question, which was sort of difficult situation for me to handle. He asked me this question, right? Do you want to be struggling like your dad when you grow up, or do you want to be a teacher like me? I thought about it for a while, and then I told him, sir, I want to be a maths teacher like you. And I think that day was a turning point in my life. I decided to go back to school. I became a school topper in less than 1 year with the support of my parents and my teachers. I then ended up doing my engineering computer science from NIT Calicut. I got a campus offer from NIT Calicut, and the salary offered was actually more than 1 year salary of my dad. My dad couldn't believe it. I handed over my first month's salary to my dad. He literally cried seeing that money because it was actually more than his lifetime savings.
Wow,
that's a summary.
So your dad and Matthew sir both tried to interest you. So that was pretty interesting. How did you go from being a person who was reluctant to go back to school to becoming a school topper, college topper, and getting into an NIT, National Institute of Technology? That stuff is made of many engineer grads' dreams, right? How did the transition happen?
So Krishna, I would say probably a couple of points to mention about this. One, by the way, it is not just my dad, it is my mom as well, my parents, I said. Coming back, I think what really helped me was I was a below average student. So trying to learn something for the second time really helped me to grab it better. Second, I think I got support from my teachers because Matthew sir had pulled me back to school, and then it was in his KRA sort of to make me a good boy, right? Beyond that and after that. And the last one, which probably the most important thing, is success gives you confidence.
Right.
And confidence gives you more success.
Yeah, it's a virtuous cycle.
In my case, I ended up topping in one subject. I think it was maths, if I remember correctly, during those days. That was good enough for me to give confidence. And that gave me confidence to become a school topper in less than 1 year.
Okay. And then how did the NIT thing happen? And that's a big time frame, right? Sixth grade to NIT, sixth standard to NIT is a big time frame. Coming from that kind of a background would have meant scraping for fees, and then eventually did you face any challenges affording your engineering education as well?
Yeah, so I finished my 12th from college called Foreign College in Calicut, and during those days, my sir, Mohammed sir, used to conduct engineering coaching classes, entrance coaching classes.
Okay.
And of course, he used to collect a fee for the same. And I was an average student in the school, in the college. And he asked me to join the classes. Then I said, sir, I don't have money. I will not be able to pay. Then he said, don't worry, I will give you free tuition. Come and join. So I went for the free coaching offered by him. And that's how I got into NIT Calicut.
Interesting. You must be one of the few rare people, with this kind of success to say you were average, and to also even recall the contributions that some of these teachers have made to your life. It takes a certain amount of humility to actually do that. Kudos to you.
Krishna, this is a point I want to make here. Not all of us would be lucky enough to have the tough childhood that I personally faced in my early days. But then we can all play the role of Matthew sir or Muhammad sir or my dad or my mom played in my life.
Let's dig that thing a little deeper, PC. I've always held the notion that parents play a very strong role, mom and dad, and depends on who is a greater influence on you, especially when you have those kind of beginnings where making 3 square meals a day is hard. What sort of message do you get out of it? Do you grow up to say, hey, the world is out there to get me, and therefore I'm going to do anything and everything? But looks like you took the other route. What sort of value system did your parents give you? What sort of a role did they play in you? Because see, all of that value upbringing is what's gone into all the philosophy and the thought you put into your venture, right? Talk about the roles that both of them have played.
So Krishna, whatever I have learned so far and whatever I have earned so far is all because of my parents. I am a zero without the support of my parents. They compromise their one meal to educate me. Whatever I've learned so far is mostly from them, including ethics, including way of doing business, including spirituality. All of them, if I look back, I'm indebted to my parents. In fact, not just my case. We are here because of the sacrifice of our parents. Coming back on the kind of values that I've learned from them, a lot. My dad used to take me to masjid every day, 5 times a day. I've learned to do my prayers, with his help. Then also he also used to teach me or share a lot of stories with me, very interesting stories or interesting anecdotes, which probably you didn't understand during those days. But then when you reflect back today, I am able to understand the meaning of those stories and the moral behind the stories. Coming to my mom, she was probably the toughest woman I faced in my life, or I encountered in my life. She had courage to face elephants, and I actually meant she had courage to face elephants. So let me share a story of my mom with you. When early days, my dad, of course, was finding it difficult to meet both ends of the family. So we decided to support the dad by finding some sort of a part-time income. So during weekends, my mom used to take us to a nearby forest, to pluck the wood and bring back and sell it in the market, so that we can use that money to support our dad. During those days, there were many days wherein she had to encounter elephants head to head, right? But she had the courage. She had the courage to face those tough challenges and then instill those courage in us. Never give up attitude is something which I've learned from my mom.
Wow. A couple of years ago in Sakleshpur, which is a part of Karnataka, we had gone for a vacation, and this homestay was nestled among those Western Ghats, and there was a single elephant, right? So talking of elephants, we all know in Kannada there is a word for it called Onti Salaga, which is a single elephant is supposed to be dangerous than a elephant that is part of a herd. And we were supposed to climb this mountain at 4 a.m. in the morning so that we could catch the sunrise at around 5. The funny thing is, we reached at 5, we saw the sunrise, and it was breathtaking. As we were coming down, there was elephant dung. I asked the guide who came with us saying that, how come there's elephant dung here? He said, sir, there is a lone elephant on the prowl, on the loose here. And be careful. And that was fresh. It looked like maybe the elephant was there just about an hour ago or something. I said, dude, can't you warn us? Because facing an elephant is not something that it's not like raw courage, right? You also need a certain amount of tactic and thinking about how elephants function.
Yeah.
So interesting. They say God couldn't be everywhere, therefore he made mothers, right? So amazing. So then from your engineering degree, then what did you embark on?
I then worked with few MNCs in India, Middle East, and Europe.
Okay.
I earned some money and cleared all the debts for my parents.
Okay.
Dad. I then built a home for my parents.
Okay.
I then arranged wedding for my sisters and spent money.
Wow.
And this was all, by the way, before my marriage. And then I made some savings. So I was very lucky for me to get money at the right time in my life.
Okay.
It doesn't mean huge money to meet the basic, right? To build a home for my parents, to clear the liability, and to arrange wedding for my sisters, right? It was very important for me to get money at those times. I managed to do that. There was something which was missing in my life. After my engineering, I had a good grade score, but I couldn't pursue my MTech or MS during those days because of the financial situation that we were in at that time. So I decided to take up a job.
Okay.
After working for a few years in India, Europe, and Middle East, I decided to come back to India with an objective of creating employment for smart kids from my village. Not just that, I also had this dream of spending more time with my parents and pursue my higher studies, which I couldn't do after my engineering.
I see.
And that's when I decided to come back to India almost 16 years ago. And during those days, once I came back to India, I was able to spend more time with my parents, especially during weekends and holidays. As you know, Bangalore and Wayanad, where I'm today, it's just 5 hours drive.
Right.
So it became closer to them, my parents, and they also ended up visiting me in Bangalore. So started spending more time with my parents. I had this dream of doing higher studies. One trip to Bangalore National Park in Bangalore triggered the determination in me to enter IIM Campus, and that was good enough for me to be determined and prepared hard and get into IIM Campus one day.
What exactly happened at that national park that drove you to say, I'll do an MBA and getting to IMB?
So this was in 2003-4 time. So 3 time. I had come back to India, and then we went for a picnic to this Bangalore National Park, which is around 35 to 40 kilometers away from the city. On the way, I happened to see this beautiful campus of IIM Bangalore. You won't miss it. It's such a beautiful campus in the city.
Right.
I felt like going inside the campus, but I didn't know anyone in the campus. And moreover, I didn't have courage to go and check with security to get permission to enter the campus. But that day, I determined that I will enter this campus one day in my life. I came back. I told myself that yes, I can get into this place. If I am able to, if a 6th grade dropout guy can get into NIT, if I work hard, I will be able to get into this campus. I came back. I worked hard for 2 years, 2 hours every day after my morning prayer. And if you look at my academics, I was a below average student. It was not easy for a person like me to get into IIM campus. I needed very high analytical skills.
Okay.
So I worked hard, mostly self-practice. That was good enough for me to get into IIM campus. Not just that. I just got into IIM campus. Last year, I was recognized as the youngest distinguished alumni in the history of IIM Bangalore. My dad was proud, my parents were proud to see my name engraved on the wall of fame at IIM Bangalore. That is the power of determination that I would summarize. If you're determined to do something, you can achieve it.
So you were passing by, you didn't have the courage to check with the security guard to give you a tour of the campus, and you said, right royally, I'm going to be a student here, I'm going to do my MBA, and then now you're in the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
Awesome. So let's now switch chapters a little bit and then talk about what is it that you did to get you into that Hall of Fame. So your adventure, your business, which you've scaled phenomenally well. Talk about the beginnings of ID. I'm intrigued. Talk about that beginning a little bit. I have a couple of questions on that.
So when I came back to India, as I mentioned, there were 3 objectives for me to come back to India. 1, I wanted to spend more time with my parents. 2nd, I wanted to pursue my higher studies. 3rd, I want to do something to get a break for smart kids from my village. I was lucky enough to come out of the village and get a good career break in my life. But then there were a lot of smarter people in my village. They were not able to get a break in their career. And that's one of the reasons for me to come back to India and join with Intel during those days. Now, when I got to IIM Bangalore, I used to chat with my cousins who used to be my childhood friends as well. My cousins were running a small tech kirana store in a place called Hindrance in Bangalore. We chatted on different ideas, different business ideas, right? On what to do, what not to do, and stuff like that. With this objective of creating employment for smart kids from my village.
I see.
So one day, of course, we discussed many ideas. I'm not actually, recapping those ideas with you now. One day, one of the cousins mentioned about, an Idly dosa batter supplier. There was this Idly dosa batter supplier who was supplying Idly batter in a plain pouch with a rubber band on top. It didn't have a brand. It would have a sticker with
right
MRP and date. Sticker sometime will be inside and sometime will be outside. Right. This batter had all sort of quality issues, service complaints, and hygiene issues. My cousins tried to fix the issue with the vendor multiple times. It didn't work out. And that's when we thought, why don't we try to fix it ourselves? My cousin suggested that can we try to create our own batter? So we tried. We tried in a very small setup. That time all what we had was 50,000 rupees and a 50 square feet area of a kitchen. At 50,000 rupees, we bought 1 grinder, 1 mixer, 1 sealing machine, 1 weighing scale, and a second-hand TVS scooty. Our job was to go to market every day, buy rice and dal, then come back, clean it, wash it, soak, grind, mix, ferment it, then pack it. Next day morning, load it on the second-hand TVS scooty and go to the market ourselves and sell it ourselves. It was a back-breaking work. Our shirt would be soaked in the sweat. It took us 9 months to get 20 customers. It took us 9 months to sell 100 packets a day.
Wow.
When we were sending 100 packets initially, 90 used to come back unsold. But we didn't give up.
Why was that?
Initial days, because customers were not willing to buy such a product.
Okay.
Retailers, of course, didn't believe in this kind of product, and consumers wouldn't believe a batter in a pack.
Right.
So we had given ourselves 6 months time to prove this concept, and what we had told initially ourselves was we will try it for 6 months. If it doesn't work out, we will withdraw from this business. After 6 months,
but yet you were still there 9 months.
Yeah, after 6 months, we were not there. We didn't succeed ourselves.
Right.
We were still doing 30-40 packets at that time. Then we said we were pretty confident about this business, but we were not able to do it. Then we said, can we give 3 more months before we quit? So we gave 3 more months. So when in 9th month, we were able to sell 100 packets a day. That gave us a confidence. Then we did some maths in terms of market size and stuff like that. And that gave us more confidence. Then we started selling more batter. And as I mentioned earlier, what I've learned is success gives you more confidence and confidence gives you more success. Even here, every month we started doubling our revenue during the early days.
Right.
That was the past. Today, we are present in 47 cities. We are a team of 2,000 people. We touch 30,000 outlets every day in 3 countries. We touch life of 1 million people with the world's best food Idli every day. It is not by chance.
So it is India, UAE. What other country?
and Muscat.
Muscat. Okay. So let's
Oman.
Oman. Okay. So let's go to that starting a little bit. What about the recipe for the? It is one thing to make idli batter for home consumption, and I'm assuming idli was a staple food for you as well as one of the breakfast items.
Yeah, if you are able to afford.
If you're able to afford. So, well, I guess back then, by this time, you had come back. So I suppose idli affordability was not an issue back then. So it is one thing to actually make batter for home consumption, but something to do for commercial grade. What about all the recipe, getting a grinder, all of that is great, but getting the fineness, getting a certain amount of shelf life, all of those things, how did you overcome that initial part?
So we worked on a couple of things. One, we tried with our moms, their own recipe, and then try to scale it up. Of course, that had its own challenges, especially when you go for a commercial production. And then we also worked with few people, in restaurants who are doing it at a larger scale, right? Who does maybe 100, 200 kg a day kind of a volume. So we worked with them to get us some support. And then we also worked with CFTRI in Mysore.
You tried the recipes with your moms?
Yep, tried with moms, tried with some restaurants, and also tried with CFTRI Mysore.
CFTRI, yes. Okay. So the CFTRI guys, did they play some sort of a role? Because this product has been tried by many people. At what point did it occur to you that you had a recipe? Because without getting the quality right, without additives and all of that, meant that you had a lot of innovation rather go into this product, right?
So Krishna, if you look at this product, there is no rocket science, right? There's no entry barrier. Anybody can make batter. If you have a lakh rupee investment, you could go ahead and start batter yourself tomorrow.
Right.
We work with CFTRI for us to get some of the scientific data in place, to bring some science into this business, not for the recipe part. Recipe part, we worked with moms and restaurants.
Right.
Now, coming to your second part of the question about the innovation. Innovation plays an extremely important role in any business. Idli business is not a rocket science. It was extremely important for us to innovate continuously, to build a strong brand and to stay out of competition. Now, coming to innovation, we all believe or we all think that innovation is born out of Excel sheets, right? That is not the fact. I think common sense is the most important ingredient for innovation. Common sense is the most uncommon word in the world these days. We end up complicating everything unnecessarily. What I've learned is all what you need is common sense to build a business and to continuously innovate as well. ID success is actually related to this simple word called common sense.
Dig a little deeper, PC there. Growing up, because I'm South Indian, and then idli is a staple food for us. In Bangalore, I'm sure there are famous restaurants, for example, Veena stores and then Brahmins, all of these places. A lot of these places are known for their idlis, right? And they also have a certain type of idli. There is the Mallige idli, which is the jasmine idli, because it's so soft, it is so succulent. And, growing up, when I used to ask my mom, why can't home idlis be like that? My mom would say, hey, the recipe is so tightly held. It is sort of a secret like Coca-Cola's recipe. But, we started using ID batter at home 3 years ago. And then I was like blown away at what you could achieve. So when you initially worked with those restaurants and with your moms, was there any reluctance for them to share what would go into making a great idli batter? Because that is a common sense part of it, right? To sit down with them, understand what they do. So talk about that part a little bit.
So we didn't have any reluctance as it is. In fact, we got great support. In fact, many of our recipes were actually, inspired by, grandmothers.
Okay.
In fact, the way we have developed and fine-tuned the batter to get the right proportion of rice and dal, and the process to be followed in terms of fermentation and all of them, right? We've learned from our moms. But how to scale it up? Because the way we make it home is not scalable, right?
Right, that's right.
We learned from restaurants, and then science behind this we learned from CFTRI.
So the recipe from moms, the scale aspect from the restaurants, and then the science. So science, as in how to get a good shelf life product without adding harmful elements into it, that sort of stuff, I'm assuming.
No, so for example, what should be the right viscosity of the product?
Okay.
What should be the right pH value of the product, right? And what kind of packaging can be used so that it has a controlled fermentation in place? All of them will learn from CFTRI.
Right. That place is a gold mine, isn't it, for the amount of research they do on food?
Yeah, the only thing is, most of those researches are not scaled up.
Yeah. Well, it needs great minds like yours to dig in and say, I'll scale this thing.
Yeah, if we can use those platforms to really scale up and build large businesses, we can actually do wonders in the world.
Right. So this was still in 2005 or 2000, a little later, all of this?
2006.
2006. Okay. So you had grown beyond the 50 square foot kitchen and you had to scale your operation then.
So 2006, we still had square feet kitchen.
Okay.
We moved to I think 2007 time, we moved to a larger kitchen, around 600 square feet kitchen in a place called Siviram Nagar in Bangalore.
Right. Yeah.
And out there we set up I think we invested around 6 lakhs rupees from my savings I had from my overseas jobs. I used that money to set up a 600 square feet kitchen and then start doing larger volume. So then we started doing around 1000 kg and 2000 kg per day kind of volume. In 2008-9 time, we moved to KSSIDC, which is the Karnataka Small State Industrial Development Corporation area, in a place called Hoskote in Bangalore, to set up a reasonably large factory. I would say larger kitchen, not a factory, larger kitchen around 2500 square feet area. That place we used to scale up this business. By the way, we still use factory.
So you were doing 100 packets by the end of 2005, and that gave you the confidence to say, let's scale this up. And that's when the CV Raman Nagar operation happened, right? So let's talk about the economics of the Idli market. Somewhere I know you said common sense, but at some point in time, did the MBA new kick in and say, hey, this, lots of people eat Idli, this is big market. Talk about the economics of the Idli market a little bit.
See, for any business to be any business to be attractive for an investor, there has to be 3 parts for this business, right? I'm just simplifying it. It has to be scalable, it has to be sustainable, it has to be profitable. So we just now try to break it further. Idli business, if you look at the size of the Idli business in Bangalore, let me do a quick maths with you. Maybe we can do a role play. What's the Bangalore population today?
I think 1.4 crores, 1.5.
1.3, 1.4 crores, right?
Yeah.
And as per our study, more than 90% of the Bangaloreans eat Idli, dosa, uttapam, set dosa, that combination.
Right.
And I'm sure you would agree with that. In fact, some people say it's actually 100%, but for the benefit of the discussion, I'm keeping only 80%.
Yeah, I think 80%, if you take out all maybe a lot of the North Indians and people who didn't grow up with that sort of stuff. But yeah, go on.
More than 80% is the case, but for this purpose of the discussion, I'm just taking 80%.
Right.
So, crore people eat idli dosa regularly in Bangalore. Now, of this, as per our study, we eat 21 meals in a week, which is 3 meals a day. Out of 21 meals, 3 to 4 meals would be idli dosa, uttapam, set dosa, paniyaram, those combination, which is made out of that, right?
Right.
And per meal, you end up taking 3 to 4 idli. This is around 200 grams. 180 to 200 grams is what you intake. Now, if you look at the number of idlis we consume, on average, per person, we consume 15 to 16 idli per week, which is 64 idli in a week. Divided by 7, you're talking about 2 crore idli in a day. 2 crore idli in a day, if you cannot imagine the size of this idli batter business, batter for this 2 crore idli will be the size of, the weight of this batter would be as high as 100 Asian elephants in a day. That's what we tuck in every day. That is a multi-billion-dollar business opportunity in Bangalore.
That's just Bangalore.
That's just Bangalore batter. If I now take the same calculation for Chennai, you can do the math yourself. Chennai eat idli dosa 5 times a day.
Right.
So I leave the math to you after this.
Awesome.
So I think the idli business is highly scalable. I'm just coming back to those 3 points. Idli business is highly scalable. It is profitable. From day one, we focused on profitability to the business. and we proved that this business can be made profitable. So scalability was not a concern. Profitability is proven. Now coming to the sustainability. Is it really sustainable? I'll tell you my logic behind it. Whenever my grandfather could afford to eat a breakfast, he would prefer to eat idli, dosa, uttapam combination. I had dosa this morning, and my favorite is, by the way, idli. However, and see, in future, I want my grandson to eat idli as a breakfast. According to me, idli business is the most sustainable business in the world.
Yeah, well, food, especially staple.
It ticks every parameter, or every checkbox for it to become an attractive product as a business opportunity. Scalability, profitability, and sustainability all ticked.
So,
Only thing is when we started, right? People used to ask us, why do you start idli business? Why is this rice? Is it a rice trading business? Are you doing idli rice? Why do you why did you quit your IT job and move to idli business? My question to them is, why not idli? Idli is the most sustainable business in the world. It's the most profitable business in the world. It is the highest scalable business in the world. And as we all know, idli is the most nutritious food in the world.
well, a lot of people don't understand the nuances, right? They think working in these large corporations, because millions of people dream of that, they think that's the end game, and therefore, people like you make these sort of decisions to change others' lives and then bring amazing product. That link is not made at all.
Yeah, that gives me one point I wanted to touch upon here. It's about the addiction. We all know about different kind of addiction, right? Can we just recap, or can you tell me few addictions that you could think of?
Let's say cigarettes, beverages. Food itself is an addiction in some form.
Yeah.
Maybe watching films. I'm talking about the borderline slightly good ones. So, and alcohol. Yeah.
What's the most dangerous addiction according to you?
Well, all of them beyond a point are dangerous, right?
But let me tell you my way of looking at it. I think the most dangerous addiction in the world is a salary. It kills your creativity to some great extent. It instills fear of failure in you. So, many of us who want to make this world a better place, we think somebody else will do it for us. That's not going to happen. If you want to make this world a better place, if you want to live your dream, you have to do it yourself. Don't expect somebody else to do it for you. Don't get addicted to salary. You need to earn money, you need to earn salary, all of them I agree, but never get addicted to salary, thereby your passion and creativity is lost. It is extremely important to strike a balance.
So PC, let me ask you a question here. For anybody that had the kind of childhood or the challenges that you had, expecting a degree of financial stability and trying to have a secure life would in some sense be of some paramount importance. But yet here you are actually preaching the very opposite thing, which is about not getting addicted to that financial stream that comes from a salary. Was this something that was hidden in you all the while, or was this a switch that happened somewhere?
So this is my fourth or fifth venture. ID is my fifth venture, and maybe I can just recap my other ventures quickly for you.
Please.
I had my first venture at the age of 10. I used to run a sweet shop in my village. It was a makeshift kirana store that was built using my mom's sari and my dad's bench during summer holiday. I used to borrow money from my uncle, walk miles to the nearest town, and then bring back chocolates at a wholesale price, bring it back and sell it at a retail price. I used to make profit out of it, except when my sisters steal the chocolates from me. But I was kind enough, elder brother for them, to give them at least one chocolate every day. That was my first profitable venture. My second business was again, at home with the money that I earned with this, kirana business during summer holidays. I wanted to do some other business, so I then bought a goat with that money. It became 2-3 goats, and then I decided to sell those goats, and with that I bought a cow. That became a regular income for my family. That was my second so-called business, successful again. My third business was during my teenage days, immediately after engineering, not teenage, immediately after engineering, I started an online used car showroom based out of Middle East. It was very successful initially. We had a buyout offer, but then .com bubble happened in 2000 time, and we had to shut down the business. With this business, I lost my hard-earned money, my hard work, and most importantly, I lost my confidence. So that was my third business. I had a fourth business idea, which did not find the light. During my days in Middle East, the IST calls were very expensive.
Right.
And I conceived a product idea to make, to share, messages, audio messages, pictures, videos with my parents and friends back in India at a cost-effective way. I had created a prototype for the same. Not the product, but I created a product idea in place. But then my failure with the used car business pulled me back. I didn't have courage to put more money and more of my bandwidth in such a product. I think around 6 or 7 years ago, I happened to download a green colored app which had all the features that I had envisaged during my teenage days. And I think around 5 or 6 years ago, I happened to read an article that a blue colored app has taken over this green colored app at a whopping $1 billion business, multi-billion valuation, right? That is my cost of not doing the right thing at the right time. That's my opportunity. So these are my 4 businesses. 3 of them were success, and two of them were success. One was a failure. One was a lost opportunity. ID is my 5th business.
Interesting. So initially, when you started off, you began small. Was that because of what happened with the car business, or it was just a way to prove the market, understand how it works and all of that?
I think both. We don't want to lose more money. I had around 15 lakhs rupees of savings from my overseas job when I returned to India. I didn't want to lose that money. So one is we had to prove the concept, and second thing is this fear of failure again. So we thought we'll put in small money, evaluate, and then take a decision.
So let's now jump a little bit and then talk about a couple of things. So then
one more point here. I know some of the listeners would be wondering, how did I get this courage to quit a well-paid job and move into this ID business? Right? I don't know if it's part of your question.
Sure, go ahead.
I think I have a very important message here. Like most of you out here, I also had the fear of failure. I didn't have courage to quit my well-paid job and do this startup as a full-time job. But even out there, common sense played an important role for us. I partnered with my cousins, and I supported my cousins financially and strategically as well, in terms of planning, reviews, and all of them during my weekends and holidays. And my savings I used to test this business along with my cousins. They tried it for 2 years. After 2 years, when it was doing good, that gave me confidence. Thereby, I decided to quit my job and became a full-time entrepreneur.
So till then, you were moonlighting with your cousins.
Yeah. My message out here is, if you do not have courage to quit a well-paid job to live your passion, find the right cousins who will do it for you.
Right. When did the MBA happen? All around this time?
Yeah, 2004 to 7.
So you were doing your MBA and then doing your job and also still working alongside with your cousins for the...
That was the toughest time in my life.
But do you look back today and relish the time because it pushed you to the limits and made you do so many interesting things?
Yeah. I also used that opportunity to build right network with my profs.
Okay. Was this a goal-based decision where in 2007 you decided to take a plunge, or it sort of happened organically?
So I think it's a mix of both. We have learned throughout this journey, and many things were unplanned. But we had a strong determination that we want to make a difference in this world by helping people in our village at least. And even today, we are determined. Today, of course, we have expanded beyond a village, but we are still determined.
Let's talk about the scale journey a little bit, PC. You 2005 and 2007 is when the large 2,500 square feet facility was set up. How was initial distribution? You obviously outgrew Indranagar, and then talk about the scale journey a little bit. And you didn't raise funding up until 2014, and then after that, Premji Invest came in, right? So that's a lot of time. It requires patience. It requires staying power. Because hearing you talk about scale obviously means that you had scale on your mind. The size of the Idli market was very attractive, or rather, to just paraphrase Bernoulli's principle here, it is the wind beneath your wings and your ambitions, right? So talk about the scale and the funding journey a little bit. Go into those two, please.
So Idli business is not a fancy business. There was no money. We had only limited resource. We had only 15 lakhs rupees savings with us, and this business is not a fancy business. So there was no investor to fund this business idea with you. We don't come from a business family, so there was no other way for us to raise the money as well. We had option of raising money or borrowing money from the bank using interest-based transaction. As interest-based transactions are completely against my ethical values, we decided not to take that route. So the only way for us to make this business sustainable was to focus on two important aspects from day one. One is profitability. Second is positive cash flow. We focused on these two aspects from day one. We focused on profitable business and cash on delivery model from day one. We will not give credit. We will only do it on cash basis, because that was only way for us to manage our cash flow. Beyond a point, it has its limitation. So until 2011-12, we were a single city, single product company. I think we were doing close to probably around 9 crore per year revenue at that time, and a profitable business. So whatever profits we generated, we plowed back to the organization for the growth. So one of course seed capital around 15 lakhs that we had, we put that into the company, and then I had a small property that I had invested again from my overseas job. I sold that property and invested in Idly, and whatever profit we generated, we plowed back into the company for the growth. In 2012, I reached out to my friends and colleagues, my roommates and other people who used to work, whom I thought will be able to help me to take this to the next level. So, for example, my engineering classmate Sujit joined me and invested some money and joined me to set up the operation in Mumbai. And Asif, my family friend, joined me to set up the operation in Dubai. Rajesh and Banu, again friends, joined me to set up the operation in Hyderabad. That's how we expanded. And later on, when we were doing well, there were many venture capital funds running behind us, saying that we want to help you to scale it up. And at the right time, we took the money and then used that money for scale up. Now, let me now talk about scaling up, because this is an important area that many of us fail in scaling up such businesses.
Right.
So what is scale up? According to my principles or my checklist, one, the product itself, right? Technology, team, and you also need money, network. Let me now take through each of them. Idli batter itself is a highly scalable business, so scalability was not a constraint, and our mix was acceptable in other markets, whether it's Mumbai, Hyderabad, Dubai. The pattern was acceptable, so that solved one of the key problem, which is same product was scalable in other markets. Coming to the technology, I think technology played an extremely important role for the ID scale up, and this is where we mostly fail. We think technology is all about internet and websites, right? And mobile apps. No. For a manufacturing company like us, technology is also to do with backend. So let me again share a story with you about one technology that we used for our scale up. We all know about Idli batter. To make right Idli, you need the right idli batter, right quality idli batter. To get the right quality idli batter, there are again two important aspects. You need to get the right raw material and the right process. Now let me talk about the process involved. Process, as I mentioned earlier, involves soaking, grinding, all of them. One of the toughest work while making idli dosa batter is the wet grinding. If you don't follow wet grinding process, the traditional stone grinding model wet grinding process, you will not get the right batter. If you don't get the right batter, you will not get the right idli. To get the right batter, we had to follow traditional wet grinding technology followed by our grandmothers at home. Now, the best grinders available, the largest grinders available for stone grinding, traditional way of stone grinding, grinds around 2 kg of dal per hour. If you can imagine, in ID, I grind close to around 30,000 kg of rice and dal per day. 25,000 to 30,000 kg of rice and dal per day. You can now imagine the size of the number of factories required, right? Number of people required, and moreover, the complication that comes along with this.
Right.
That's where we decided to focus on the back-end technology, which is we were looking for heavy wet grinding technology machines. Now, as we all know, most of the food processing machineries are innovated in Germany. Unfortunately, Germans don't eat idli dosa.
Right.
So there was no wet grinding, batter grinding technology for me to copy from. But we didn't give up. We still went to Germany, identified a mustard paste making machine, a large scale mustard paste making machine. We got the machine customized to make idli dosa batter. Today, with the press of a button, I'm able to grind 5,000 kg of batter per hour with the traditional wet grinding technology, not 2 kg of dal per hour.
Wow.
So that's the scale up we are talking about. So investing on the back-end machinery was extremely important. That's what I meant by technology. There are a lot of aspects in technology. In the interest of time, I'm skipping other technological innovations that we have done.
Talk about another 3 or 4. This is fascinating.
There are a lot. For example, to get the batter in the right packaging, right? We had to innovate our own packaging, setup.
Right.
Which take paratha machine, right? Paratha that you heard my ID. Today we make around 6-7 lakhs parathas a day, right? And these parathas, if it is handmade, only it gets the right texture, right quality, right layers. So we had to create our own paratha making machinery. We innovated ourselves.
Your parathas is delicious, by the way.
There are a lot of such things that we have done in terms of bringing technology in the manufacturing backend to bring in consistent innovative products. Okay, so coming back on the front-end technology, which is IT. ID runs on IT, and that's a fact. When we started ID, we were selling around 100 packs to markets, 90 used to come back unsold. In a period of 3 years, we started selling around 2,000 kg to the market, 500 used to come back unsold. There was no way for me to make this business profitable and scalable with this kind of a wastage. That's when we started using data and technology. We started capturing store-wise, item-wise, sales and wastage data. We now use this data to predict the right demand for the right store on the right day. Today, in a mature city, mature product, we run at a wastage of less than 1%. That is the power of technology. That is the power of data. We use IT or we use analytics to sell Idli.
So you are doing demand projections, ensuring that you're placing the right quantity of product. Well, I'm oversimplifying it for sure. Are you doing anything in the sourcing side? Feel that a little.
And their forecasting module is based on data, right?
Right.
So, for example, my production planning is done based on data. My procurement is done again based on data. My material requirements planning is done based on data now.
Interesting.
We are different aspects of scaling up, right? We talked about the product. We talked about technology.
Yeah.
Right. Other thing that we need is the team. We were a family-run business, but we were smart enough to identify our own limitation and decide that we need to bring in professionals from the market to scale up this business to the next level. So we built the right mix of people who are experts in running such large businesses and scaling up into multi-billion-dollar businesses, married with the entrepreneurs. So that mix really worked out for us. And of course, the next one is about money or investor, I would say. Investors, again, we were very lucky that we got the right set of investors. So all of them put together really helped us to reach where we are today.
Let's dwell on a couple of aspects. The investor angle, obviously you were there in the market, you had achieved a certain degree of scale on your own, and even now we've done the back of the envelope calculation on the size of the Idli market in Bangalore alone. Despite all the scale you achieved till now, you still haven't made a big sizable dent in the market yet, so there is miles to go. So because you were in that position, were you in a position to choose your investors? Because usually startups or businesses are not at that kind of a luxury, right? So is that why you ended up with a set of investors that aligned well with what you were looking for?
Yeah, I was very lucky to get the right investors on the board. So while selecting investors, you have to be extremely careful. Again, from my experience, don't just look for investors based on valuation. If you look at the case of ID's investor selection, we had investors who were willing to pay us almost 10-15% better valuation than the valuation offered by the current set of investors. We felt we should look for investors who can add value into a business and who can help us only in the places where that is required. We don't need investors in our business to run the business. We know how to run the business, but we need investors to help us at a board level for us a bouncing back. So it was extremely important to choose the right investors. I usually draw an analogy here. Getting an investor is like getting married, right? Never end up choosing a spouse for the dowry.
Right. Very interesting. So let's talk about the distribution side a little bit. See, it is one thing I lived in the States for a very long time, and obviously the batter, we will talk about the US market in about a minute's time. Batter in translucent containers was sold widely. At what point in time, if you are serving hundreds and thousands of stores across the city, meant that you obviously had to get your branding, you had to get your packaging, because without that, to have extensive distribution is not something easy, because you need branding, you need a certain degree of quality standardization, and which your products are great, by the way. Did that happen even prior to the investors coming on board, or was that something that you perfected after?
No, I think this is an area that we had perfected even before an investor comes in.
Okay.
Or investor came in. We started this business as a self-owned distribution model from day one. Today, ID is not a batter company. We are probably world's best fresh food distribution company. We know how to distribute fresh products, replenish every day, control the wastage, and make it profitable.
So what you're saying is, in a particular city where the consumer actually picks up your products from a retailer, it is directly distributed to the retailer by you. Okay, obviously, given the perishable nature and the fresh nature of the food, that would mean a pretty big logistical operation behind the scenes, correct?
As I told you, right? We are world's best fresh food distribution company. We are actually building a platform for fresh food distribution.
And this is in all the cities you're present in?
Yes, and to make it scalable, profitable, and sustainable. In fact, what I've learned is my biggest asset today is my distribution network.
Right.
See, usually packaging is considered as a container, right? That's a general perception about the packaging, usage of packaging, right? But packaging has to be looked at a larger picture. According to me, packaging is the cheapest way of marketing the product. One. Second thing, packaging can be an experience by itself. And third thing, packaging can be used to deliver a functionality. If you look at the case of vada, that's what we tried to do with the packaging. We identified vada as an opportunity, and we identified vada making as a cumbersome job. Especially the hole for the vada is the most difficult part to get right. A vada without a hole is called bonda.
Interesting. Yeah, well, anybody with a proprietary distribution network, whether it's online or offline, obviously that is because you are able to introduce new products and read the pulse of the market. More importantly, get a sense of what the market wants. Let's talk about the packaging a little bit. Over the last 3-4 years, I've noticed, let's take the vada product for example. Everybody can vada, not just the title, the packaging, the amount of thought that must have gone into it is incredible, because the product is fantastic. It hits the messaging right on the spot, and the quality is, bang on. I've never seen two separate packets have different quality at all. In fact, last year I had to spend some time in Andhra Pradesh, and the funny thing is, for all the reference to coffee in Telugu films and then Telugu folklore, the coffee that you get is really crappy, and most of them actually drink tea. So I'm a fan of filter coffee. And in 2016, a couple of years after coming back from the US, I used to joke with my wife, saying, "Hey, we ought to start a sachet of decoction kind of a product, because the instant coffee sucks." And then my wife talked me out of it, and a year later, I find Idly decoction, filter coffee decoction. So an incredible amount of thought must have gone into it. What's that thought process like to get the packaging right, the messaging right? What is that process?
We identified this as an opportunity. We then used common sense to put a hold for the vada using our packaging. It was not an easy journey. It took us 3 years to build a hold for the vada. We would have failed 100 times, but we never gave up. Coming back, we used vada pack, a little bit of technology with an umbrella-shaped vada batter dispenser, along with a cutter, so that when you squeeze the vada batter from the vada pack, it comes out in the right shape. When you cut it, it becomes a proper vada. Untouched by hand, you can make vada at home. We had done this product, and and also created a small video for my talk at Harvard. That video got leaked. The Everybody Can Vada video that you're talking about was not an ad campaign. It was meant for my talk at Harvard. And this video got leaked. It went viral across the world in 2018 actually. This was one of the most viral video on WhatsApp. Today I'm getting requests from different parts of the world to make the same packaging for donuts. So what I've learned is you look at packaging at a slightly different way. One, for a startup like mine, we can't afford to spend money on marketing. I think packaging is the best way to share your message or convey your message. That we worked from day one. Second thing, packaging can be used to deliver a functionality and to deliver a special experience to consumer. So in the case of vada packing, I didn't sell vada. I sold vada batter. A homemaker picks up a pack of vada batter, makes their own vada, and for most of them, this was the first vada in their life. They would remember me for their lifetime. Kids started making vada using my vada pack and shared it on different social media platforms. What a better way to get brand visibility and build a strong brand. Innovation helps. Yes.
And a perfect looking vada at that, right?
So let me just also try to build one more story on it, which is about the latest product that we have done 2-3 months ago. So what you need for innovation is nothing but common sense. If you have common sense, you will look around, identify customer problems, and then try to solve it using common sense. That's what we did with Vada Pack. Sometimes when you look up, you may not be able to identify opportunity. In that time, or in that case, you look up. When you look up, you'll find the humble coconut. Try to innovate on the coconut. And that could be, again, multi-billion-dollar business opportunity. We just launched this product called ID Smart Sip Tender Coconut, and we call it KYC Coconuts. KYC is not Know Your Customer.
Yes. Awesome.
KYC means Know Your Coconut.
Know Your Coconut.
So what we did is we predicted what is inside the coconut, which is the amount of water, the weight of the pulp, as well as the sweetness level of the coconut water, with the help of simple science and common sense. And we called it KYC. That became a super hit in the market again. So innovation should not be just limited to the back-end technology, should not be just limited to the front-end technology, should not be just limited to the packaging. It should be also about marketing.
Awesome. Coconut, I'm sure that's so again, relating back to my US days, certain Mexican farmers markets or farmers produce markets, as they used to call them, or they call them, have these skinned coconuts.
Yeah.
And they are refrigerated. The unfortunate part of it is, if you haven't ever tasted a fresh tender coconut anytime in your life, you relish the taste. But once you have a memory of a fresh tender coconut, most of those coconuts actually smell, or rather taste stale, so to speak. The other alternative is to have these heavily preservative driven drinks. I've never liked any of them, but seeing what you've done with the other products, I haven't seen this product yet anywhere in Bangalore. I'm certain it is going to be awesome, especially because I'm a big fan of sweet coconuts. We'll have to check it out, and it is available year round.
Yes.
Terrific. So PC, I wanted to ask you this some time ago. Did your education ever become a hindrance, or your thinking is a perfect blend of what you learned in your education plus in all the ventures that you did?
It's a tough question. I think my education gave me all the necessary supports to support my family in the most difficult times. So my engineering really helped me during those days. My MBA degree helped me to take the toughest decision in my life, which is to quit a well-paid job and to venture into an Idly business. That gave me the courage, and moreover, it also helped me in terms of understanding a larger picture of the business and importance of brand building, the financial modeling, all of them. But I would say one of the most interesting thing that I benefited from the IIM journey is the brand mileage. I got a lot of free PR. There was a story about an IIM boy selling idli in the street. That became a news in the market. That got us a lot of brand mileage.
It's now part of folklore.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the US market for a moment. Western markets, not just the US market. There's a large Indian diaspora living there. While I think lunch and dinner are slowly starting to get addressed in their own ups and downs. For example, the Texas market, the Texas geo region has a huge Indian diaspora now, so it can sustainably have a lot of Indian restaurants that can provide lunch and dinner. But breakfast is still a challenge, and you have absolutely bang on nailed the breakfast challenge with these many products and production, distribution. Given all the hacks that you've done in your distribution, given that there is a wide variety of Indian grocery stores, do you see the US as becoming a plausible market anytime at all for your own expansion? How do you see that?
Yes, answer is yes. We are looking at US market. In fact, we started a UAE operation 6 years ago, and today UAE is already contributing around 30% of my revenue. Coming to US market, we are looking at right partners to take this business to the US market. We have two varieties of product. One is a fresh range of products, which is idli batter, parathas, and all of them, which we are looking at the right partners. We are already in discussion with a couple of partners on taking this product to the next level. Our coffee decoction, which has got a longer shelf life, will be available in Amazon platforms from this week.
Congratulations. So one of the downsides of running a restaurant is that getting the consistency and quality of the food right is a problem, right? So if we see the likes of McDonald's, Domino's, all of these are built on the back of consistent supply chains where food quality, food grade, the input quality, everything is standardized. So from that perspective, you've achieved all of them, right? And you are looking at the home market. Would it be a stretch to say that you are considering some sort of restaurant foray in some profitable markets at some point in time?
We don't have any immediate plans, but we are in discussion with a couple of restaurants to build something like an Indian Inside kind of a model, where ID Inside would provide them a quality assurance to a consumer.
Right. Yeah. Well, all the US chains that don't have any morning customers and have to struggle because of the lack of labor, I think will find this hugely appealing. Terrific. So, PC, we've had a very long chat. You've been very forthcoming and very, very humble. We can see it. But at the same time, I should possibly characterize this as fierce humility, because you've been through the rough and tumble, and through all of that has come one steely determination, and it can be seen in what you've molded ID into today. That's fantastic. So looking back, if you were to summarize 4 or 5 things that actually worked, helped you, what would those mantras or those sort of philosophies be?
I would say right team, right product selection, branding and packaging, innovation and technology, and probably the most important thing which we didn't discuss today is ethics. Uncompromised approach to ethics is the way we build this business. It is not difficult to make money, but then making money without compromising values is not easy. It's a holy war. You need to be prepared for it. I'll be happy to narrate this story to my grandchildren one day in future, that I am part of a team who built a multi-billion dollar business without taking shortcuts, without taking compromise. ID business is built on values, very strong on values. And even today, that's where we are. We believe in building business with values, and that is the best way to build a strong brand and to stay ahead of competition. Focus on the values.
Is that because you take a very long range perspective? Because people who are usually short term oriented end up getting messed up, even if they are value driven. Sometimes they say, okay, I need to make this quarter work or this year work. Does that stem from the fact that, you know what, I'm going to give this a long row and I know in the end I will come out on top? Is that what drives that thinking?
Yeah, so I think it has to be driven with the purpose of life as well, right? I believe I'm a servant of God, and my role is to serve the needy. And while serving the needy, I cannot take shortcuts. I don't want to have a situation wherein I do a compromise and then achieve the purpose of my life. So driven with that purpose, you cannot build a business by taking shortcuts.
So you end up endangering the whole operation then at some point in time. So I guess
last message from my side is you need to be innovative in your business thinking, even the way to run the business. For example, at ID we have built this ID, the brand, based on very strong principle of ethics and a different approach on the trust. Trust is an important factor for ID. We trust our employees, we trust our customers, we trust the entire ecosystem. Let me just leave this message with one story. During this lockdown period, we were getting a lot of demand from Mumbai residents. They have this resident welfare associations, which is a community of residents, and they contacted us for supply of batter directly to them, supply of ID products directly to them, and then they hand over the cash to us. They collect the cash from all the apartments and then hand over the cash to us. It had, of course, safety issues since you're handling cash, and then another issue is cash collection reconciliation. This is where we brought in trust as a concept. We told our customers that you tell us where to deliver, we will deliver it at your security gate. You could collect it, and then after collection, you can transfer money to our account. We don't know who was ordered. In fact, we actually get the consolidated order, right? For example, from apartment association, if there are say 20 apartments ordering for 5 packets of paratha and say 10 packets of batter, we don't know who has ordered what. Apartment association gives us this consolidated order. We leave the products at the security gate. They collect and transfer the money to us. It's purely based on trust.
Right.
So trust is an extremely important part for the business. Interestingly, a trust-based business approach is more profitable than highly micromanaged business. In this case, what I've learned is cost of verification is actually more than cost of trust. So it's better to trust our customers and employees blindly rather than verifying.
I agree with you. Please complete your thought.
Again, what I've learned is be the change you wish to see in this world. I repeat, be the change you wish to see in this world. If you want someone to trust you, you trust them so that they'll trust you back.
Terrific. So on the trust part, I should share a story with you. In fact, this whole distribution thing that you did with the Residents Welfare Association or the Apartment Residents Association, in the US there is a term for it. It's called the honors system. When I used to live in Chicago, near my home there used to be there is a supermarket chain called Mayer, and the way that chain used to run their breakfast counter was they would call it the honors system. And I've seen that apply in a wide variety of places. So for example, in newspaper stands in New York, in railway stations. So the honor system works like this. they leave out a table of food, donuts, coffee, whatever it might be, and they just put a hundi or a piggy bank kind of a thing there, and then there is a tag which says honor system, and there is no cashier, there is no billing, there is nobody to monitor it. So what happens is, if you borrow a donut, if you take a donut and coffee, and if the cost of that is $2, they trust you to leave $2 there. If you take a donut and a coffee and if you leave $1, nobody's actually standing over your shoulder and saying, hey, you left $1 there. And it intrigued me. So I spoke to the store manager once and I asked him, if you do something of this sort, don't you lose money? And he told me, just like what you did, that there hasn't been a single day that they've lost money.
Yep.
So, and I've seen that in a variety of places, newspaper counters.
Let me share the numbers with you. When we started doing this business in Mumbai, in the last 2-3 months, for example, if my product MRP is 100 rupees, I usually give around 20 rupees margin to a retailer. And there's around 4 to 5% of wastage on an average, right? So my collection for a 100 rupee MRP product will be close to around 77 rupees. In this case, my customers pay me on MRP. And in the last 3 months when I looked at the data, my collection is at 96%.
Wow.
For every 100 rupee that they were supposed to pay, they already pay me 96 rupees, right? So instead of 77 rupees, my collection is at 96, 97 rupees.
Wow.
Indians are trustworthy. Trust them, they will trust you back.
Yeah, like you said, you have to start the virtuous cycle yourself.
Yeah.
Awesome. For entrepreneurs who are considering starting up, and I love what you've done, because it's tech businesses take up so much of our bandwidth and then mind share these days. What you're doing in age-old business or in a very primal need is phenomenal. So for those entrepreneurs that are considering, while your story itself has got a lot of nuggets, if there is anybody considering, let's say like me, that I wanted to start a decoction product or anything of that sort, or any other founder, what would your advice be?
I would say 2 advice. 1, look at the right product. Use common sense, look around, identify customer problems, and try to solve it using common sense and simple science. Identify the right product. Don't over-engineer. Right? Get the right product so that you make life easy for a customer. That is the role of an entrepreneur. Role of an entrepreneur is to look around, identify customer problems, and solve it for the customer. Do not over-engineer. That is one part. Second, if you are passionate about doing something, don't wait for tomorrow. Do it today.
Terrific. Keep it simple. Make sure it's something what the customer needs, and then get started. Awesome. PC, you couldn't have said it better.
An Indian homemaker is a gatekeeper for the kitchen. She won't let idli inside her kitchen. She's okay to buy idli batter, make steaming idli or fluffy idli, and add her love and serve to the family. If idli comes out well, she gets a credit, not ID. And if for some reason, if dosa is not crispy enough, she can blame it on me, brand ID. Never try to replace your customer. Help your customers to do their job better. Again, never try to sell idli to Indian consumer. Give her idli batter so that she...
Awesome. PC, we had a fantastic time chatting. You have this amazing style of conversing, making it all seem so easy and simple. I know our listeners will have a terrific time. Thanks for sharing your story with us. We know this is just the beginning for ID Fresh, and there'll be many more peaks and summits to scale. We'll be there with you, again talking to you when you take the US market by storm. I'm sure it's there written in your DNA. Have a wonderful day ahead.
Thank you. Continue eating idli every day. God bless you all. Jai Hind.
We hope you enjoyed this story. If this story made a difference to you, tell us by leaving a comment on the website or our social media channels. Help us spread the love by subscribing, liking, and sharing our show. We welcome speaker suggestions and collaboration. Write to me at tanya@maharajasofscale.com.